There's one person left.
Yeah!
What's your initial thoughts on making the All-Star team more in the game tonight? I know that was kind of the big news.
Good game.
I mean, what was the feelings like going up until the time it was announced to you?
How much do you guys allow yourselves to have fun? I guess you're having fun because you're enjoying eating something right now, but, you know.
I'm just hungry, so it's just necessity.
Some nice all-star reactions. A hungry Clay Thompson. Welcome to SI Now. I'm Madeline Burke. He's Robin Lemberg. What a day we've got today.
Yeah, if only my younger self was here to congratulate me.
I know, right? LeBron, though, had to congratulate his younger self. LeBron James passed Kobe Bryant as the youngest player to 30,000 career points last night. This after he rewarded himself, or more like pre-warded himself on Instagram with a lengthy congratulatory letter to his younger self. But was the night tarnished by the loss and the drama surrounding the Cavs?
I don't think so, because 30,000 points in a career is a remarkable achievement. I mean, LeBron James is in striking distance, perhaps eventually, of being the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, maybe top 5 in assists. So career marks like that cannot be tarnished by a regular run-of-the-mill loss in San Antonio to a good team. However, the Cavs' issues were on full display again last night, and if 30K was the big number, 2 other numbers stood out to me. One is 0, and that's the points scored by J.R. Smith. In 28 minutes of action, he has been abysmal this season. He's a shooter who can't shoot anymore and can't play defense. The other is minus 15, and that's from Isaiah Thomas, who has been a problem for the Cavs since he came back. And you could see the Spurs picking on him on defense. So, to me, the biggest problems with the Cavs right now are in the backcourt.
Yeah, and I agree with you, though. When you look back in the history books and you look back in the people who have scored 30,000 points, the fact that LeBron James was and is the youngest person to do so, I don't think they're going to look and say, oh, but that night that he did it, it was in a loss. It's not going to tarnish that long term. But I do agree there are some glaring issues with this Cavs team. I mean, they've lost 10 of their last 13 games. And, you know, you mentioned Isaiah Thomas. There's a lot of finger pointing going on. There's a lot of issues going on around this locker room, and things aren't getting any better.
Yeah, and if you look at the way they're playing defense, it continues to get worse. They are quickly approaching being actually the worst defensive team in the league. I believe only Sacramento is worse right now. So, of course, the Cavs' problems also go beyond their on-court play. According to a report, Isaiah Thomas led the charge in calling out Kevin Love in the recent Cavs team meeting. And you know what that means? Memes. Now, you see Isaiah Thomas, trying to get to his sources and calling out Kevin Love, saying various things here. But should IT really be pointing fingers, considering what has happened to the Cavs since he returned at point guard?
First of all, I gotta applaud these fans for these memes. These are some good ones. This photo is a screenshot from this documentary, a moment in which IT is calling Adrian Wojnarowski. So, you know he's got that connection. Then, of course, suddenly Woj has the intel on the Cavs team. So put 2 and 2 together, people are saying, oh, IT, he's the leak here. But there are some big issues with this team. I think, and after the loss to the Spurs, Ty Lue said, he's going to make a change to his lineups. And what that exactly entails is unclear. He's not sure. They play again on Friday. Who knows if they're going to, put Tristan Thompson back in the starting lineup, kind of get some defense going there. Or maybe make a change, put Jay Crowder, J.R. Smith in the second unit. Or is he going to be bold enough to make a change to IT's role, put him off the second unit, something like that? Changes need to be made.
Well, their bench has been better than their starters as of late. And, here's the problem for the Cavs. If you're looking and saying over the last several weeks who's been their second best player, it's probably Dwayne Wade. And at this state of Wade's career, that really can't be what you're hoping for if you're going forward to making the playoffs. And the Cavs, of course, floundering at the moment. Now, we've seen all the memes, but here's some factual context on LeBron's 30,000 achievement and what it could mean in a chase of Kareem.
GOAT-like numbers right there. So no question that LeBron James is an NBA All-Star. But the All-Star reserves were announced. Damian Lillard got the nod for the first time since 2015. But some guys were not as stoked. Andre Drummond tweeted, quote, "Guess I got to start doing backflips after every point I score to get attention around here," after he did not make the cut. Lou Williams simply tweeted, "LOL." And Russell Westbrook went to bat for his teammate Paul George, who did not make the team. Here's what Russ said.
I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Guy to lead the league in steals, compete every night, top 2 at his position. You know what I mean? It don't make any sense regardless of anything else. But if you're going by all-stars, there are certain all-stars in this league. Everybody's not an all-star. Just because you get voted in don't mean you're an all-star. I just think it's outrageous.
First of all, got to point out that top 2 at his position comment by Russ. I mean, LeBron James, Paul George, Kevin Durant doesn't make that cut. That could be a veiled dig at his former teammate. But that aside, who do you think, Robin, was the biggest All-Star snub this year?
I'm with Russell Westbrook. I think it's Paul George, and he's not a snub by conference. He's a snub on merit. Because if you look at the West, it's loaded. It's one of the reasons probably the structure was changed this year. But if you're just looking at the pool of All-Stars as a whole, Paul George should be in over someone like John Wall, who has really not had a great season for a sometimes struggling Wizards team. If you're looking at the guys who deserve to make up the composition of these rosters in total, he should be on it. But I'm not sure he was snubbed given the way that these teams are selected.
Well, and with Paul George, that kind of raises the question, too. Do you kind of change the format? I mean, they're not doing strictly East versus West now. I mean, a guy like Victor Oladipo makes it out of the East, but Paul George can't make it out of the West. Another guy, though, that sticks out to me that didn't make it, Lou Williams. I mean, he's the biggest reason the Clippers are back in the playoff picture, essentially. He's averaged, 25 points a game in December, up to 29 points a game in January. He's been shooting lights out from 3. He's been shooting very effectively for this Clippers team that has had its share of drama, but has still maintained the course. I mean, I think Lou Williams has made a case for himself. It's tough, though, because of the fact that there are so many talented guys, especially in the Western Conference. Perhaps, look at expanding to 13 players, like on an NBA regular season active roster, on an all-star roster, or other things, because there are a lot of talented guys that deserve this nod that got left in the dust.
If you're talking about that veiled shade before, like Russell Westbrook saying Paul George is the second best at his position, remember when Chris Paul said that the Clippers should go through their go-to guy, Lou Williams, in lieu of Blake Griffin. The problem with Lou, I think, is on the defensive side of the court when you're making these teams. Speaking of defense, I'm sure if you asked LeVar Ball who he thought the biggest all-star snubs were, he'd say his Suns. But last night, the announcers had some assessment of Melo and Jello in Lithuania. Just going to leave this here.
And I know the headlines after this game, Melo and Jello showed amazing performance in offense, but I think everyone will be forgetting one thing. They sucked at defense in this game, as both teams did.
We're here with NFL great Terrell Owens and T.O., the Eagles and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Last time those two teams played in that game, you were involved. What's the first thing you think of when you look back on that game?
Number one, we lost. But then I think just my approach to that game, I think what I was exercising was probably bigger than the Super Bowl itself. I mean, I wanted to kind of really exercise my faith in God and really show people that when you put your mind to something that people say that is impossible, that it is possible. And so I think that's what I did, considering the injury that I had sustained almost 7 weeks out. Just the fact that I was able to get back on that football field in record time, I think, was a remarkable feat. Considering that injury you played with, do you scoff a little bit about everything that was made of Tom Brady's hand going into this last week? Well, no, I think, again, that's just media trying to have something to talk about, especially when it comes to the Patriots. Again, they're a dynasty. I mean, you think about what they've done and what he's been able to accomplish, especially when I'm thinking of the Eagles. They have to take full advantage of this opportunity because you may never get back unless your name is Tom Brady. So they definitely got to get back get to the basics and really just take advantage of the opportunity that they have in front of them.
You mentioned too what you played through. You played through a lot and still balled out in that game. Does that loss? Do you reflect on that? Does that hurt still when you think about it? No, I don't really think about it too much. Again, like I said, I put my heart and soul into that game. I think
with the way that Philadelphia embraced me, you know, I felt like I needed to give something back. And so me coming back, understanding that, you know, doctors across the country, specialists, they said I wouldn't even be running, you know, or walking at that particular time. So for me to get on that field and perform like I did, I think I owed it to the city, because they had been there to the NFC Championship 4 times in a row. And not to get to the Super Bowl, and I think I was a big part of them getting there. So I just wanted to, you know, really show my gratitude for how they embraced me when I first got there.
Now, the Eagles are really owning this underdog card this season with the dog mask, the T-shirts, and all of that kind of stuff.
You have to.
Do you think that this matchup will go differently than the last time these two teams met?
Well, I hope so, but the thing is about Tom Brady, I mean, no lead is safe. I mean, you saw over the weekend, Jacksonville, they gave him, you know, their best shot. They were leading, you know, all the way to halftime. But at the same time, once you step on their throat, you gotta keep it. You gotta put your foot on there, and you gotta keep it going. And you can't be conservative. You gotta go with your normal game plan. And if there's shots to be taken for you to take advantage of some opportunities, then you have to do it. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself like the Jaguars did, and you're gonna find yourself like the Atlanta Falcons did last year.
Yeah, can't let off. You got to go for it all the way.
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing you mentioned was that maybe Tony Romo had played a part in you being out from Dallas. Was that the case?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's it. I've always been vocal about, you know, my departure. And I think, you know, with the way things played out, I think that's what a lot of people don't know is what happened on the inside. They don't know the intricacies of or the details of what happened. They only go with what is being reported. And sometimes that's not always accurate. So, again, anybody that knows me, I'm not going to lie about anything. So if I have a reason to say something, then I definitely have a valid reason to. So again, I would say that if they were sitting right here, I know that, you know, Garrett and those people had a hand in me leaving. But again, they're trying to now blame some of the lack of success on the players when the common denominator is still there, and that's Jason Garrett. That's all I'm saying.
All right, yeah. I mean, Jason Garrett, you've made it very public that he and you had a rift, and you've called him out a little bit, too, for his lack of adjustments in the way that he's coaching now. I mean, this is a guy you know pretty well. Do you think the Cowboys need a new head coach?
I think they do. I think that's something management, they definitely have to do to make a change. Why wouldn't they? I mean, if a player's not performing up into their specific duties, then what do? They make changes. So the head coach shouldn't be exempt from this same assessment. So this is what I'm seeing from the outside looking in, based on me actually being there for 3 years.
Right.
Again, Dak, they didn't play very well based on what they did the year before, because he took over for Romo. Teams didn't really have a time to prepare and game plan against him, but now they had a whole offseason to do so. Now he's not playing as effective as he was the year before. It was the same thing that happened when I played there my first year. We were lighting it up. We went 13-3. Then all of a sudden, why weren't we playing so well, so great the next year? Because teams, defensive coordinators, the whole offseason, that's what these defensive coordinators do. That's why they're in the position that they're in. They game plan. They watch tendencies. They watch what you like to do well and what you don't do well, and they game plan against that.
Of course, you were great at what you did wherever you went, really. But do you identify it by team? Would you consider yourself either an Eagles or a Cowboys all-time great?
I honestly, personally, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. All I know is that every team that I played for, I performed. And that's what they asked of me. That's what I asked of myself. Every team that I played on, I felt like I owed them something to be that go-to guy, to be the playmaker for that team, and I think that's what I did.
And how would you rate Tony Romo as a commentator so far?
Actually, he's been good. I haven't watched, like I said, a lot of games, but I catch some games, especially the playoffs. I have nothing bad to say about him, other than when I left, of course. But other than that, the guy, I mean, he's a funny guy. He was a great teammate. He's a very great guy in terms of knowledge of the game, student of the game, and that's what you see when he's in that booth. So he's great for what they're doing.
Terrell, you've always been a very candid and personable guy, and now working with Hive, a social media platform that's designed to kind of connect people with new friends that are nearby and like-minded. Why make this connection? Why work with this company? And what makes Hive different than the other social platforms out there?
Well, I think why I'm so much involved is just like you guys were asking me about me being on social media. I like to be engaging, with the fans, and I think what makes this different is that you can bring different backgrounds, different people, of different communities, you can bring them together of shared interests. So that's the thing. If you're socially awkward or there's some type of social anxiety that you may have, again, you have a platform like Hive Social where you can go in there, you can pick, you know, different platforms, different scenarios in which you can meet someone of your shared interests or common interests.
T.O., we appreciate the time. The should-be Hall of Famer, Terrell Owens.
I appreciate it.
Five-star recruit Zion Williamson, the #2 recruit in the nation, announced Saturday he will attend Duke. And joining me is his high school coach, Lee Sartor. Coach, first I've got to ask, how do you feel about Zion choosing Duke over Clemson, the hometown spot?
Well, look, I'm so proud of Zion, and it was his decision. It would have been nice for him to stay in state, either Clemson or South Carolina. But I told him, he's the one that's going to actually have to go to class. He's the one going to have to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and do conditioning and lift weights and then go to class and that sort of thing. So he needed to go to a place where he wanted to go because it was his decision.
Right, right. Now, on the court, we've seen the talent this kid has, but what are some of the things you've gotten to know about him as a person that have helped lead to his success?
Well, Zion is probably one of the most humble individuals I've ever coached. He cares a lot about the program, the team, his teammates. I think he puts everyone in front of himself, and that's kind of unusual for a 17-year-old kid to put others before himself.
A 17-year-old kid, too, with a very high profile. What has it been like for you coaching arguably the most famous high school player since LeBron James?
I tell people all the time, he does stuff that I've never seen anybody do. And when he does something in the game, sometimes I'm amazed, but then I'm not, because I see him do amazing stuff every day in practice. So it's been a thrill being able to coach him. I can tell you this, my plays work a whole lot better when he's involved.
And speaking of some of that amazing stuff you've seen him do, he's known for a lot of his dunks, but what is the most underrated part or most underrated valuable part of his game?
What Zion is, his skill set is so amazing. A lot of people do focus in on the dunk, but besides dunking, his skill set is so amazing. He can handle the ball. His IQ is so high. He likes to get his teammates involved. He's a willing passer. He's just an all-around player. Great rebounder, great defender, well-rounded game.
Obviously, very well-rounded player, but what's one area of his game that you think he needs to develop to maintain this level of success in the college game?
Well, I certainly think that Zion is the type of person that he's going to continue to work hard on things that he needs to get better at. He's always in the gym working on his weaknesses to make them into strength. He's always working on his ball handling. He's working on his outside shot. He's the type of player that's going to make himself into the best player possible. But he's not content. He wants to be better.
Coach, thanks so much for joining us today, and good luck on the court this season.
You're wonderful for having me. Thank you.
This year in college football, we saw some big-time performances from true freshman quarterbacks, and there's another talented crop in the wings in the 2018 class. Here are the top 5 signal callers this year. You'll be hearing these names on Saturdays. The #1 overall prospect in the country is quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and he is headed to Clemson. He's been a big name since he was coming out of middle school. And in a room full of alphas, he is the alpha. Lawrence is 6'6", 208, and he can sling it. He's a 2-time state champ at Cartersville High School in Georgia, and he could take Clemson back to the Natty in the next couple of years. Justin Fields is the #2 overall prospect in the country, and he's the top dual threat QB. Georgia got a 5-star stud in Jake Fromm last year, and they got another one in Fields in 2018. Fields is not intimidated by Fromm's success, and the Kennesaw, Georgia prospect is a dynamic athlete with a strong arm. He enrolled early, so he's already on campus in Athens. And USC could have the #1 pick in the draft in Sam Darnold, and JT Daniels is hoping he's the next big name for the Trojans. The 6'2", 205-pound QB out of Mater Dei in Santa Ana has great instincts at the QB position. He throws the ball with some nice touch and some zip when it's needed. He's also got the athleticism to escape the pressure in the pocket. TCU loves those athletic, dynamic, dual-threat QBs, and Justin Rogers is the next in line. The 6'4", 210-pound signal caller is the top quarterback out of Louisiana, and he's a dangerous runner. He can scramble when the play breaks down. Rogers can throw on the run or stay in the pocket and deliver the ball. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson is the #3 dual-threat QB in the country, and he'll be joining Chip Kelly's new roster at UCLA. The 6'2", 195-pound athlete comes from high school football powerhouse Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. DTR is incredibly poised, and he has the leadership skills that others gravitate towards. And not only does he have all the skill and athleticism to be a great dual-threat QB at the next level, he is a competitor and a kid that you want in your locker room. And that's it for this portion of SI's Recruiting Corner. Be sure to keep up with us as signing day approaches on SI.com.
Joined now by 9-time NHL All-Star Jeremy Roenick on behalf of Kraft Hockeyville to go over all things hockey, of course, the NHL and the Winter Olympics, which start February 9th in South Korea. This is the first time since 1994 that active NHL players are not participating in the games.
Yeah.
What do you make of that decision?
You know, it's tough for me as an NHL player who got the opportunity to play in 2 Olympics and won a silver medal. But then again, it gives some young kids, some college kids, some kids on the up and coming, an opportunity to get this kind of experience. So, you know, there is some good with I think the bad.
Well, speaking of that roster and those college kids and Americans that are playing abroad as well, who can fans look forward to getting to know on this roster?
Well, Brian Giunta is the captain. I mean, he had a fantastic career, won Stanley Cup. Was a captain of a bunch of teams in the National Hockey League. He was actually retiring this year and then got this opportunity because of the NHL not participating. So look forward to guys like that.
Now, of course, with our best players staying home, can we expect the team to compete for gold, or should we temper those expectations?
You know, I think, yeah, it's a great question. And I actually asked myself that question. I asked Brian Giunta that question. And Tony Granato, who is the coach, is a very good friend of mine. Chris Chelios, also a good friend of mine, the assistant coach, feels that they're going to be very competitive. I think USA Hockey's done a phenomenal job for the last 15, 20 years of developing these kids into superstars. USA Hockey is really upped their game, so I think they'll be very competitive.
So back in the NHL, let's talk about the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah,
taking the league by storm in Season 1, absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
Only trail the Lightning in points. How has this expansion franchise been able to be so dominant?
Isn't it crazy?
Yes.
And not only have they taken the sport, I mean, our sport by storm, but it's taken all sports by storm. I mean, it's unheard of that an expansion team can come in and have such success so early. And not only that, but they're an exciting team to watch. They're talented, they're fast. Everybody questioned whether Las Vegas could hold a team, could support a team. That building is packed and as electric as any building in the league every single night.
Do you think there's any merit to the idea that they're in Vegas, right? These visitors are coming in. Do you think they're
100%.
partying too hard?
100%. Teams that go into Vegas for the first time, they don't know how to deal with it, right? You have casinos, you have great restaurants, you have the nightlife. So, and a lot of teams really go in 2 or 3 days early to kind of get that break, right? Probably a wrong city to do that in. It's hurt a few teams.
A unique form of home ice advantage, I guess, if you will. Should we expect to possibly see them in the Stanley Cup final?
I really believe that this is the first opportunity that I've ever seen that an expansion team reaches a championship game. These kids really, they want to prove something. They were castaways, right? They're cast outs. They want to show that that they're really good hockey players and that they got disrespected.
Certainly a very exciting team
No
already
question.
this season. So trade talk heating up now with the trade deadline just a little over a month away. Who's buying, who's selling for you?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a couple teams that I think are going to, this next couple weeks, going to decide that. The Chicago Blackhawks, who are teetering on that borderline of the playoffs. Philadelphia Flyers are in need of some defense. The Islanders are in desperate need of a goaltender, so they're going to be buyers at the trade deadline.
Who do you think is most likely to get moved?
Vander Kane in Buffalo. He's one of those real flamboyant players, one of those people that love the limelight. He's not afraid of the microphone, flash and dance sort of player. I could see Vander Kane definitely leaving if he gets a free agency in the offseason. So you got to try to get something for this guy, or else you're going to lose a very, very high-quality player for nothing come summertime.
All right, so we're looking forward to the NHL All-Star Game on January 28th. This year they're doing a 3-on-3 style tournament with guys from each of the 4 divisions. Who would be your top lineup of 3 guys of these All-Stars?
Listen, you talk about excitement. I mean, as good as these players are, as fast as they are, as talented as they are, 3-on-3 is so much fun to watch, and the All-Star Game is going to be no different. It's hard to predict who would win. In 3-on-3, there's $1 million for the winning team. Guys, go after it.
I saw Kid Rock was the performer for halftime. Snap judgment, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Big thumbs up. He's a good friend of mine. He's going to rock it because he is a true performer. He's not going to go there and lip sync. He's not going to go there and put on a half-ass show. He's going to go there and he is going to rock that arena.
So Jeremy, currently you are here with us today for a Kraft Hockeyville program. Tell us a little bit about the work.
Yeah, another thing that I'm extremely excited about. This is Kraft Hockeyville's 4th year. We go out there to try to find the most passionate hockey community in the country. If you win this competition, you get $150,000 in arena upgrades that you can help your local arena to help make look better. And you have a chance to host an NHL preseason game next year in September, which I think is fantastic. You see the faces on these kids when these NHL players come in to play at their arena that they play in every weekend. So they have up until March 10th is the deadline to nominate your arena, your town, krafthockeyville.com. You can also go on Twitter and Facebook, Hockeyville USA. A lot of ways that you can get on and help your community win this competition.
Well, if there's one thing I know about hockey fans, it's that they're passionate. Jeremy, appreciate the time today.